About to load the sample to the Lesker chamber. To load the sample, we have to vent the chamber. To vent the chamber, all you need to do is to press Start PC vent, and the whole process will be automatic. It will ramp down the turbo and then inject the gas to vent the turbo chamber. So normally it will take about 15 minutes for the turbo to ramp from 100% to 0%. Basically, the turbo totally stops. Once it's finished, it's going through all the cycle, all the steps in the PC1. Once it's finished, you will see PC1 complete. And then when you see complete, then you can open the chamber. About to load the sample to the Lesker chamber. To load the sample, we have to vent the chamber. To vent the chamber, all you need to do is to press Start PC vent, and the whole process will be automatic. It will ramp down the turbo and then inject the gas to vent the turbo chamber. So normally it will take about 15 minutes for the turbo to ramp from 100% to 0%. Basically, the turbo totally stops. Once it's finished, it's going through all the cycle, all the steps in the PC1. Once it's finished, you will see PC1 complete. And then when you see complete, then you can open the chamber. About to load the sample to the Lesker chamber. To load the sample, we have to vent the chamber. To vent the chamber, all you need to do is to press Start PC vent, and the whole process will be automatic. It will ramp down the turbo and then inject the gas to vent the turbo chamber. So normally it will take about 15 minutes for the turbo to ramp from 100% to 0%. Basically, the turbo totally stops. Once it's finished, it's going through all the cycle, all the steps in the PC1. Once it's finished, you will see PC1 complete. And then when you see complete, then you can open the chamber. After 15 minutes, you should see the PC1 complete. You should see the turbo speed is at 0%. Then you can open the chamber. After you open the chamber, you are going to unload the sample holder. I'm going to first home the position. I turn it on, home, and you should see the position. You should see the position is go to home, and then I will turn this off, and then I can take this sample plate out. Yep. So we are loading the sample outside. We just use the Kapton tape to tape our sample down to our sample plate, and then we'll flip it upside down. Make sure this guy is facing this way, and you can see those two holes. Those two holes will go into these two Yeah, so this, once it's fit in there, these two holes should match those two poles. Before you start, you might want to vacuum if there's some particle on top of the target. So this is the target one, which is titanium dioxide, and this is the target 2, silicon dioxide. Right after deposition, those targets may be very hot, so usually we won't clean it after our deposition. Usually we will vacuum it before during the time you load your sample. When you vacuum it, try to avoid touching those areas with your vacuum hose, and make sure it's clean. If it's clean, then you can close the shutter back. And you check the O-ring is good, seal it properly, no particle on the seal, and then you just close the chamber. And then again, this is fully automatic. You go back to the vacuum, you hit PC pump, and then you will start roughing the chamber. Everything, all the valve will open automatically, and then normally we want to wait until the pressure go below 10 to minus 6. It typically takes about 3 hours to pump down to less than 1 times 10 to minus 6. When you first come in for the deposition, you look at this pressure, and you write down this pressure on the log sheet. So the pressure here is 5.2 times 10 to minus 7. So I'm going to write down 5.2 times 10 to minus 7. And then the time to pump down, we pump down overnight, so we'll just say overnight. So after we write down the base pressure, we are going to set the turbo speed. So all the indicator is the green. All the white color text is the set point. So I'm going to press this and set it to 30% of the turbo speed. Click OK. After we set the vacuum, we are going to do the gas panel. The gas panel, most of people just use argon. So we will use the argon gas MFC4. Again, all the green is the indicator. White color is the set point. I'm going to press mode. We change the mode from 0 to 4, which is a memorized recipe for certain flow rate and certain pressure. Once we set the mode, we will kick gas injection to start the gas injection. And then we will go to the deposition panel and set the pressure. So once again, the green is the indicator actual pressure. The white is the set point. We are going to set to 15 millitort. So we will press 5, 0, and OK. And then we will go back to the vacuum to see the turbo speed. So this could take up to 15 minutes for the turbo to wind down. And we have to wait until the turbo speed is at 30. And after about 10 minutes, you can see the turbo speed is now at 30%. Remember, the green is the actual turbo speed. We set at 30%. And we also check the pressure. The pressure we set at 15 millitort, and now it's close to 15 millitort. So before we start, we are going to go to the patent motion panel. We click here. We turn on the motor. And then we turn on the forward. So we'll turn the sample holder. And you can see once I kick forward, it's set to 20 RPM. That is the default. So now we are ready to start the deposition. So we are going back to the deposition tab. The first thing we set is to set the power set point. The initial set point is 50. So we'll pick 50. And OK. And then notice the target 1 is titanium dioxide, target 2 is silicon dioxide. So we are going to do the titanium dioxide first. So we will select the source 1, and then we will kick the power on. Once we kick it on, we will look at the window to make sure the plasma is on. So I'm going to turn this on. And you can see the forward power is 40, and reverse power start dropping. And we are waiting. The plasma is not, now the plasma just ignite. So once the plasma is ignited, then we are going to gradually bring down the pressure. But the first thing you want to do is kick the ramp. So when we when we ramp up, we ramp 5 watts per second. So we set it to 5 watts per second. Once we set the ramp, we are going to set the pressure. So we are going to reduce the pressure half each time. So we start from 50, we are going to bring it down to 25. We click 25, okay, and you can see the pressure should gradually go down. At the same time, we will bring up the power by 50. So start from 50, we are going up to 100. And click enter. So you can see the power is gradually going up and the pressure is gradually going down to 25. And we have to check the plasma, make sure every time the plasma is still stay on. So the plasma is on, then once the pressure go to the set point and the power is close, reverse power is still low, then once again we start with the ramp. So we start every time after you set the power, the ramp will go to 0. We have to set it back to 5 watts per second. And then we set the pressure. Again, from 25, we set it to 12, reduced by half. And then we come here to set the power to 150. And you can see the power go up, pressure go down, and then check the plasma. Plasma still stay on, which is good. And once it reached the pressure, 12 millitol, close to 150, once again do the same thing. Press the ramp, set it to 5, and we set the pressure. Again, drop by half. This time will be 6. And set point increase. Make sure the set point and the power supply on/off 2 button is very close. So make sure you don't accidentally shut off the high power. We don't want to ramp down the RF power from 150 to 0 right away. If we ramp down, we'll ramp down from in 10 watts per second. So be careful, don't accidentally shut off the RF power. So make sure you click correctly. So we'll change from 150 to 200. So again, after you ramp up the power, you check the plasma. The plasma stay on, which is good. So the goal is our deposition recipe is at 300 watt at 1.5 millitol. So we have 2 more steps. Now at 200 watt, and the power is pretty close, and the pressure is also close to our set point. Once again, we always start from the ramp. We set it to 5 watts per second, so we click that ramp rise rate, so we set 5. And then we set the pressure. So we set it to 3 this time, from 6 to 3. And then we bring up the power to 250. And we check the plasma, still on, which is very good. We have 1 more step to go. So pressure is pretty close. And the reason we have to start from 50 millitol and low power is the plasma is easier to strike at high pressure. If we try to strike the plasma at 1.5 millitol, most likely it won't be able to strike. So we have to strike it at high pressure and low power. We strike at low power because we don't want to suddenly increase the power and cause a lot of thermal stress, and you will crack your target. So it's important to start with high pressure, low power. So even though our recipe is at 1.5 millitol at 300 watt, we don't directly go there. We start from 50 millitol so that the plasma is easier to strike, and then we start with low power so that we can gradually bring the power up. We don't cause a huge thermal shock and crack your target. So now we are ready to do the last step. Once again, we start with the ramp. So we 5 watts per second. and then we change the pressure from 3 to 1.5. And finally, we bring our power to 300. And then we check our plasma. Yep, the plasma stay on, which is very good. At this point, you would like to write down the DC bias. So right now, before the shutter open, the DC bias is 126 volt. So we're going to write on the log sheet. On the command side, the DC bias is 126. So at this time, you have to start your timer before you open the shutter. So so we are going to deposit 24 minutes. Roughly, titanium dioxide is 1.5 nanometer per minute. Press the start button. At the same time, I open the shutter 1. So after the open the shutter, you can see the plasma go up, and you can also see the DC bias is going to increase a lot as well. So it's changing from 126 to 165. You want to write that down in your log sheet as well. So it's now changed from 126 to 165 volt. And we will come back in 24 minutes. We have about 1 minute before we want to close the shutter based on the deposition rate we have for the target thickness. So when the timer go off, my first step will be close the shutter, and then I will select the ramp to 10. So ramp down the power, we're going to ramp down 10 watt per second. So once we set to 10, I'm going to set this to 50. And then once it goes to 50, I can turn off the power supply, RF power supply, and then I turn off. So we have 25 seconds. So at 0, I'm going to close the shutter. So 3, 2, 1, 0. So I close the shutter. I select the ramp rate back to 10. And then I set the power to 50. So you should see the power drop. Once the power drops to 50, I'm going to shut this off. Yeah, so now it's go to 50. I'm going to shut off the RF power. So I turn this off, and I also turn this off. Chamber, you want to check the substrate temperature. If it's less than 30 degrees, you probably only need to wait for 5 minutes or so. If it's higher than 30 degrees, you want to wait until it's go back down below 30 degrees C. Depends on the chamber condition. Sometimes when you increase the power and reduce the pressure, the plasma may go off. If you see the plasma go off, the first thing you can try is to open the shutter. So sometimes open the shutter, change the plasma chamber condition, and then the plasma will ignite. And once the plasma ignites, you can close the shutter back so that you can control the deposition rate. However, there are some situations, it depends on the chamber. Even when you open the shutter, suddenly when you increase the power or reduce the pressure, the plasma will go off. If that's the case, even you try open the shutter, you cannot get it turned down the plasma. What you have to do is you have to ramp down the power all the way back to 50. So you will press the ramp, press 10. You can ramp down at 10 watts per second. And then once you set at 10, you are going to set this to 50. And then the power will gradually ramp down. And once the power ramp down to 50, you will have to turn off the power and basically restart again. So you're going to, once the power goes back to 50, you turn it off